good morning, and welcome back to the Oil Check podcast. And this is the Rona special number 10, and we are going to be speaking about UFC on ESPN this weekend, which is Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker. And as you can see, I have already on the line my guest for today. This is world exclusive, I think. Straight back from Fight Island himself, we've got the tank, Jack Shaw, who is regularly on fire. Jack, I'm so happy that you've agreed to spend a bit of time with me. But just before we get tucked in, I just want to mention, as always, that the Oil Check podcast is sponsored by Fight Central, and their website is www.fight-central.co.uk. They sell all MMA, Thai boxing, etc. equipment, and you can get a 10% discount with the discount code The Oil Check. So go to fight-central.co.uk, select anything you want to buy, and when you get to the checkout, enter the discount code The Oil Check, and that will get you 10% off everything on the entire site. And as always, if you want to contact The Oil Check, you can do so by telephone or text on 07510 954 793. You can email us on theoilcheck@hotmail.com, and you can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Oil Check. So that's all forms of social media at The Oil Check. Okay, so that's all of the boring stuff out the way. So very simple. First things first, how are you doing today, Jack?
I'm good, mate. I'm freshing out the garden. I've been trimming the grass first thing. So living the rock star lifestyle in Fight Island.
The life of a rock star out in the garden doing the grass.
Maintaining this jungle that's growing at the back garden in the valleys. But I'm all good. I'm just glad to be back. Obviously getting over the jet lag. But obviously with the performance and everything, it was a nice result. So I'm an happy man. I'm still riding the adrenaline buzz at the minute of the fight.
Excellent. So talk us through. I mean, without actually speaking about the fight, we're going to save that. We'll talk about that in a second. What was the experience like? So obviously, you've had to go into quarantine in London. You've got to get shit shoved up your nose every 2 days. You've then got to fly out. You've then got to go into quarantine again. Etc. How was that? Obviously, compared to normal fight prep, you try and relax as much as possible. And then now you've got people shoving shit up your nose. So what was that like for you?
So it was a catch-22 in many ways, because there was obviously a lot of pros and a lot of cons, like you just mentioned, Phil. Obviously, take out all the quarantine and stuff like that. We've spent 8 days on Yas Island. The nicest hotel I've ever been to. The staff and including the UFC staff, they can't do enough for you. Everything. I mean, I'm not extremely worried about the virus, but for someone who could potentially be worried about contracting the virus, everything they did to ensure that everything was clean and you was at as minimal risk as possible was top level as far as the room situation. You go to the gym, everything is sectioned off. There's people there. You get out your seat. There's people there spraying the seat down immediately afterwards. The staff are all in like the alien suits, with their face masks on. They'll drop stuff to the door. So as far as like facilities and stuff like that go, it was unbelievable. It was you can see how much money they truly have got over on our side of the world. I don't think money is an object to them. When we went to the venue for the actual fight, there was a 52-seater bus. And it was literally me, my old man, and my other coach, Carl. We were and the driver. And, they do that for every single fight there. So no expense was spared. So credit to the UFC and the guys who set it up. But on the flip side, it was a very tough 10 days from the day I left my home, which would have been...
You're home in Abergavenny, according to...
No, Abergavenny, Abertillery, before the boys lynched me up. But... I
couldn't believe it. Michael Bisping was like, I just want to interrupt Bruce Buffett here and say it's Abergavenny.
So confident.
I was shouting at the TV.
He was so confident in it as well, wasn't he? But it was so it would have been like the Monday before a week. So it would have been 10 days in total we left. So we also went to London. I had to spend 48 hours in an hotel room then, so I couldn't even have my old man in with me to do pads and stuff like that. It was just me.
Really?
So we was all in separate rooms before after taking the first test.
Well, we doing prison workouts, fucking press up.
Literally, it was, chuck the bed to the side, and like you said, press ups. Fortunately, I took a skipping rope and a kettlebell, so I had probably a little bit more equipment than most of the people up there. So I took that. That was a tough 2 days, obviously, when you're trying to drop weight as well and bring your weight down. When you can't sort of run and have a move about on the pads and whatever, it is tough to bring it down. So I'm mentally tough, being stuck in a room for 2 days, eating cold meals that I prepped myself in advance. It was a tough 2 days. So obviously then.
Yeah, because I saw some of the food that people like. Obviously, a lot of people, I know a lot of people that was like there. The judges, the officials, a lot of the fighters, and they're all posting up the pictures of some of the food that they were getting from room service. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's not exactly conducive towards weight cutting, is it?
No, of course. So luckily, to be honest, I prepared in advance and took obviously 2 days worth with me. Then you sort of travel for a day, which again, so you can't train that day realistically, and then we had to do two days quarantine, obviously in the W hotel in Abu Dhabi. Then, fortunately, obviously my old man was room sharing with me, so we could do our pads and circuit stuff like that. But again, it's not ideal prep to bring your weight down. Obviously, if you're just staying in shape and you're on weight, then it's not too bad. But I think if you speak to sort of 80-90% of the fighters who have fought out on the island this week, they'll all tell you that every one of us sort of had a little bit of a tougher weight cut than usual because of the days spent in quarantine. I sort of spend a lot of time on the treadmill fight week, whether it sometimes morning and night, just to strip that weight off, just to get nice and light before I start the water cut. So it was tough in that sense. And then obviously you factor in the heat as well, and then factor in that we've got to run on American time. So we were sort of getting up around 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and then going to bed sort of 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. So it took a couple of days to adapt to that as well. So mentally very, very challenging as a fight week. Something that you're not going to, your box standard fight week obviously doesn't involve being locked in a room for 4 days. So it's something that's out of the norm at the minute. But I think the way things are going, it could very fast become the norm, because I know, I imagine the Vegas fights have got to do the same thing. If people are fighting over in the Apex, I imagine they've got quarantine whilst they're tested. And obviously the UFC are talking of going back to the island for the remainder of the year. I mean, it's going to be the same sort of scenario all over again. So it was very tough, very mentally challenging, very physically challenging. But obviously to prove to myself and come through all that and still perform and not let it affect my performance was very good for me in a mental sense. It just reinforced my belief in my mental strength that despite a lot of adversity, I can still perform at the highest level.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, I actually rewatched the fight again this morning, and yeah, just super impressed. Your game plan was absolutely spot on, and yeah, it was just was there. I mean, I suppose there's never such a thing as saying that there's a perfect fight. But, what would you have given yourself a mark out of 10 for that one? I mean, would you have said it was a good 9, 9.5? Were you happy with that?
Yeah, it was a solid 8.5, 9, I think, if I had to rate it out of 10. Just because we didn't have time to really game plan in a sense of put a game plan in and then practice it, because this guy stepped in obviously the Friday and I travelled up to London on the Monday. So we haven't really, obviously can't spar hard fight week. Obviously there's no spar. Like Brett was out there, but Brett's style and Phillips's style, who I thought were very different. So it was a matter of, look, ideally this is what we want to do. But my ultimate sort of game plan was from sort of Carl and my old man, was just, look, just let your instincts take over. Go out and get in his face, being a rangy striker like he was. Don't give him space to kick. Get in his face and fight him, and just let your instincts take over. And obviously, I know my muscle memory's pretty good with the clinch and the wrestling and the grappling. So I know if I could just get in his face and turn it into a bit of a messy fight rather than stand off and let him work his good striking, then I knew it would go the way it did.
Well, that was the thing. Your opponent changed 4 times, didn't it, in the actual run up to the fight? So it shows you know, your professionalism and your adaptability, you know, to do what was needed to do. But you know, this guy, that was his. He got caught. That was a callback, wasn't it? Because he was in the UFC like 5-6 years ago, and he got cut, and then he went on like, was it a 5-0 or a 6-0 win streak?
He lost one of his first fight outside the UFC, broke his leg, and then obviously won 6 in a row. So it was no easy fight. You know, it was like, I know he got cut a couple of years ago, but it was almost as if, you know, like a 6-fight win streak over 2-3. I know he had a couple of years out, so over sort of 2 or 3 years, a 6-fight win streak. That's something that prospects do to get signed to the UFC. You know, so he wasn't someone we could take lightly. He's obviously one of them who got cut from the UFC, but didn't let him. You know, he didn't let that be. You know, I've been cut and that's the end of my fight career. He got cut and he just obviously grafted, worked hard, and got back in the win column and built up a good training momentum.
Yeah. I'm having a quick look at his record on Sherdog here. So you know, apart from those 3 losses where, you know, that he took, you know, he was in the he got 2 losses in the UFC, and then, like I say, 1 loss outside. Before that, he was undefeated. So he had 7 fights undefeated. Then went into the UFC, had a couple of losses, got cut, had 1 loss, and then's gone on another win streak. So yeah, I mean, without
the guy he lost to outside the UFC is now in the UFC, Chris Gutierrez. So you know, he's the guys he lost to have been obviously top level opponents. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you say, I mean, you know, but as the commentary team are always, you know, very, very keen on saying there is no such thing as an easy fight in the UFC, and you know, you did make that one look fairly easy. I mean, like I said, that's not playing down his quality. This is, you know, playing up, you know, your level. You know, so and I love what you said, you know, after the fight in your post-fight interview about, you know, you want to go away, you want to take a bit of time to improve before you come back, because you're only young and you want to make that dramatic improvement and improve on each one of your fights. So, you know, the actual fight itself, you know, like you said, the game plan was, you know, get in his face, don't let him use that striking, because I think he just, you know, Bruce Buffer described him as a Thai boxer or a kickboxer, or, you know, he was a striker. You know, that was his background. So, you know, your game plan was perfect. Like you say, get in his face, get a hold of him, put your weight on him, and wear him out a little bit until the opportunity for the submission came.
Yeah, so he's had a lot of, like you said, he spent time in Thailand. He's had, if you go on YouTube, he's had a good few Thai fights, you know, pro Thai fights. And the majority of his wins have come through his striking. But believe it or not, he's a BJJ black belt as well. But
well, I know. I heard the commentary team say that, because he went away and worked on his BJJ, gained his black belt, and then came back.
Yeah, so, but again, when most people would hear, like, you know, you're fighting a BJJ black belt and you would be wary of going to the ground. But, you know, that again, it just sort of testaments to my confidence in my sort of ground game. I mean, there's a difference in my opinion, and this is not slating. I know I'm a BJJ black belt myself. This is not slating the sport of BJJ, but there's a difference between a BJJ black belt then and an MMA grappling black belt, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, I've been a BJJ black belt probably, I think it's approaching a year now, but I feel like I've been, you know, in terms of MMA grappling, I've been on black belt level there for 2 or 3 years, you know, and I'm sort of getting better and better all the time. You know, I'm not sure if I agree with him, but my coach, Carl, says to me, I'm the best in the world at transitioning from pure BJJ to striking and ground and pounding in order to get a sub. So, you know, when I heard he was a black belt, it wasn't like I, you know, thought, right, I need to be wary on the ground. Just I'm that confident that if I get a top position on someone, regardless of their level on the ground, you know, I can go to work and I can get a finish. The guy I was due to fight in London, Geraldo, he's a 2nd degree black belt in the gi. So, but you know, the game plan for him was, if I get him down, let's not be afraid to work and do our thing there as well. So it just goes to show. I enjoyed the GSP comparison. I'm not sure I would say I'm on GSP's level yet, but I like to think that I'm similar in the sense of I'm confident anyway. You know, I can strike with a striker, or I can grapple with a grappler if needs be as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, you are one of the sort of the new generation, aren't you? I mean, I'm an old fuck, and when I first got into this shit 20 years ago, it was, you were a BJJ guy, or you were a kickboxing guy, or a boxing guy, and then you came into MMA and you learned the other skills. You've grown up with it since day one. Being an MMA fighter, obviously with being trained off your dad. Your dad's been doing this, since the word go, and yeah, you were probably on the mats when you were still in natties, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was 6, I think, when I started kickboxing, 6 years of age. I know my old man started Tulare Combat when I was 12, I think. So that was when I dabbled in the I was mainly like doing the kickboxing just for sport and fun. Dabbled in a bit of grappling because my old man was doing a bit, but then obviously so I had a bit of a grappling background, but when he opened his gym in Tulare Combat, it's SMMA now, but when he opened that back in 2007, that was when I first started, training in MMA, which is 13 years ago. So to be doing that from such a young age and being trained in MMA, and don't get me wrong, our wrestling and stuff like that back then probably wasn't the level of the Americans, but in hindsight, we've been mixing it all in for that long now that there's not a case of, I'm never just striking or just wrestling or just grappling. I'm always mixing it all in. I think that's why my transitions are so fluid, from the strike to the clinch, or the clinch to the ground, or from a wrestle to like a back tip, because I've been doing it so long and gelling it together for so long. There's never really been that separation. Like you said, I think gone are the days now where the top level guys, elite level grapplers, and then they learn to strike, or vice versa. Everyone now, you get specialists, like, look at like Brian Ortega is a grappling specialist, Damian Maia, and you got your striking specialists like Adesanya and McGregor, but they're not just that. They're more than capable of mixing in every way, and I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of now as the years go on, is guys coming up in MMA rather than coming up in your boxing or jiu-jitsu and then dabbling at MMA later on in life.
Yeah, and do you think, like, what you're talking about is that transition, from, say, you're in the middle of the cage, you're striking, then all of a sudden, someone hits a takedown, and then it hits the floor, and there's that, you're like you say, you're fluid in that transition, whereas other people that may come from that pure striking background, who've then learned the BJJ later on, or the wrestling, there's that tiny little split second.
Yeah, and that's
where they have to mentally change from punching to grappling.
And it's a split second that makes all the difference. I mean, I even see it in Cagewarriors and the domestic shows. You've got like really good level guys who are good level strikers, good level wrestlers, and good level grapplers all in one. The same guys, but they don't do enough MMA sparring as they should. I think a lot of them are either rolling, they're either wrestling, or they're either striking. And when you see their transitions in the cage, you see that they're this split second behind, where they're striking on the cage, and then they'll shoot, rather than drawing someone into a gunfight, and as they throw, then you go under for the takedown because you're used to mixing it up like that. Whereas I see a lot of guys, although they're training in every area and they're good in every area, they're just missing that little bit of muscle memory and that little split second where they can, which can be the difference between hitting a clean takedown or a takedown where someone might scramble up and you've wasted a load of energy and it doesn't score no point. So I think the way forward is definitely, I mean, we as a gym have been guilty of it in the past. We would only sort of do, going back 5, 6, 7 years, we would only do our MMA rounds when we was in fight camp. Whereas now, we're not sparring as hard as we would in a fight camp, but we're doing MMA rounds at least once or twice a week, or we're grappling with the gloves on, or if we're wrestling and we hit the takedown, we carry on going on the ground. We're constantly mixing it in, and it's gonna just bring the level of your MMA game up and up and up, rather than bringing your striking up, bringing your grappling up, bringing your wrestling up, and then trying to mix it in for 6 weeks before a fight.
So you said you were about 12 when you first started training MMA. Were you all in from the age of 12? Like, obviously with your dad, was your dad being a bit like, you're going to be the next world champion? Or did he leave that up to you? Or when did you decide that you wanted to do it as a career?
Yeah, he was quite the opposite, if I'm honest. I wasn't a bad rugby player as a kid, so I played rugby from sort of 10 years of age, and I would always obviously juggle the two. And to be honest, my old man always tried to push me down the rugby route. Like, you'd have like, you know, your schoolboy trials, and I had a trial for Gwent Dragons at one stage. And he always wanted me to go on that route, obviously, because having fought himself, and I don't know if he didn't want to be the pushy parent or whatever, but I always naturally gravitated towards MMA. The boys will vouch for me on this. When I was at 12 years of age, you know, all the boys were up the park and up the AstroTurf and everything. And I was in the gym 4 nights a week, and I was the only kid in the gym. And I do put a big factor that I put down to the fact that the influence the older boys had on me, like Marshman and Chris Edwards, Martin McDonough, Mark Marshman, Chris Tetley, Darryl James, just guys who like were a lot older. Like, you know, Darryl is my old man's age, but like Marshman, although they're like 5-6 years older than me. But when you're a 12-year-old kid and you're hanging around in the gym with 18, 19-year-old boys who are fighting in the cage every month, you think you're the kiddie, and you just
fucking savages as well.
Yeah, and you know, they all had this sort of reputation around town as the boys you didn't fuck about with, and I thought I was the kiddie bothering them at 12, and I mean, they were probably looking at me as a young kid. So I think that was a big factor as well. I just loved being around the boys in the gym, and I love the UFC. I mean, it sounds like cliche, like, oh, you know, cool, you know, I train UFC, but as a kid, I genuinely loved the UFC. If there was a UFC event on, I couldn't wait to watch it the next day, you know. So I put a big factor down to that, and obviously I was very good at it. Like I wasn't the most athletic kid. I was a little chubby kid, but I was always fit. And I was fairly good technically. Like I think I put that down to starting from such a young age. My body, for a fat kid, I was naturally flexible, naturally fit, and naturally picked up the techniques quick. Like even to this day, you know, it makes more sense now being like an elite athlete. But like the coaches say, they'll show me something once, and you only got to show me it once, you know, to soak it in. Whether I soak it in and use it every session or use it as a little wild card, you know, it depends on the technique. But I was always quick at picking the techniques up. So I was always doing all right in sparring. I was a little kid. The men had given me a lot and helped me out and bring me on. But then we started a kids class when we was on the line, and I was, you know, going with boys my age who were a lot bigger than me, and obviously just where I was so much superior technically, I was having a lot of success, and I always wanted to fight MMA. My old man would never put me in. It was always like, right, do your BJJ comps. You know, you're only 16 or 15. Do your BJJ comps. You get your competition experience. And then as soon as I was 17 and he booked me for a fight, that was it then. That was all I wanted to do. Once I had that first...
That turning point, was it about age 17?
I always wanted to fight, but once you have that first taste for it, you know, where you have your walkout and you get announced in by the MC and you just get that adrenaline buzz of winning, when like it's all over. It's incredible, and that was it. I mean, I always wanted to fight from like 14, 15, but at 17, when I had that first taste of, you know, the lights and the crowd and the walkout and everything, it was just for me. I mean, whether it was MMA, amateur boxing, or BJJ, I just wanted to compete constantly. And like I said before my last fight, I think it's between the fight last week and my debut, I think it was around 9 months, and that's the longest I've had out of competition since I was about 15 years of age. So the turning point was early on. You know, early on I knew that it was something I wanted to do. And everyone was always telling me as a kid, you're going to be in the UFC and, you know, you could be the next world champion. But, you know, it's like as a kid, you just brush it off and think, yeah, whatever. I'll just keep training because I enjoy it. But all of a sudden then, when I started obviously racking up the amateur wins and the IMMAF and stuff like that, and I thought, you know what, I might be another shout here.
Well, that's it. I'm just having a quick look. So your amateur record was very extensive. Was it 11 or 12-0?
No, yeah.
And that included obviously the IMMAF championship. So you won. That's classed as a world title, isn't it?
European. That was the European Open.
So you won the European Open. So you're European champion at amateur, and then you come back and obviously turn pro. And then straight away, I mean, obviously, your old man sort of runs the Cagewarriors Wales, but you were straight in on your second fight into Cagewarriors, which is obviously, the top organisation in the UK. And then again, absolutely smashing through the ranks. So, there was a couple of things. So, I mean, firstly, this is one of my favourite things. What the fuck were people doing getting tattooed with Jack Shaw's on fire? Like, who started that? It's fucking mental. It's awesome, but it's fucking mental.
Well, when I tell you the story, it'll make a little bit more sense. So I obviously like you say, I had my first fight for Cagewarriors. It would have been June 2016. And I think I was 21. So, you know, we booked the boys all day to Sunny Beach. I think there was sort of 15 of us went, but there was also like 15, 16 boys who we knew who lived like 5 minutes up the road. And just by pure coincidence, they were out at the same time as us in the same hotel. So when you go to Sunny Beach and there's almost 30 of you in the same hotel, you know it's going to be a bit of a messy week. So we was out one night, and obviously this was when like the Jack Shaw on Fire thing sort of, because you had the Will Griggs on Fire at the Euro 2016.
Yeah.
So the Jack Shaw on Fire thing came from that. Just at that Cagewarriors, so a couple of the boys started singing it. So we was at a pool party now in the hotel. They had a pool party, and I was up in the room grabbing something, and I heard the song come on. And me and my mate Truth, we were like, I wonder if they'll start singing now. So we started filming over the balcony. I'll try and find the video. And it was about 30 of them in a pool just going fucking bonkers, singing Jack Shaw's on Fire. And one of them clocked us up on the balcony, and they're like, look, he's up there. So they all start going nuts. Well, obviously, I just set the mood for the day. Everyone was tanked up, and we went out in the night, didn't think nothing of it. Come to the pool end the next morning. 2 boys have rocked up. They said, look what we got last night. So they had Jack Shaw on Fire tattooed on their leg. So the one boy is one of my best friends, and the other boy, who I'm very good friends with now, but at the time I hardly even knew him. I barely ever spoke to him. And he had Jack Shaw's on Fire on his leg. So I said, I told him I'd have it. I said,
I mean, like, how pissed were they when they got that done?
Oh, like you won, you know the score when you're on holiday abroad. And so like the next day then, my one mate was like, fuck it, I'm going to have it on my chest, he said. I was like, well, on your chest? I went, yeah, I'm going to have it on my chest. And he's a lunatic, right? So he goes away, comes in the next day, he's got on his chest. Then the next day, 2 others come in and they've got it. So then we've gone home, and like it just took off. So I fought in like the October, like 2 or 3 people went and had it done. And then like people then who I don't even know are having it done. Do you know Colin, who runs the shows with my old man, Colin Mould?
Vaguely,
Colin's like 38 years of age, like my old man's friend. He's got like a sleeve. He texts me, I got space on my sleeve. Guess what I'm having done? And sent me a photo. So he's got Jack Shaw's on Fire there. One of the old school guys from a gym, like 50 years of age, has got Jack Shaw's on Fire. So I think we're up to like one of the guys from Newport's got. I don't know if he's got it on his head.
Fucking hell, that's a bit strong, isn't it?
He hasn't even just got the words. He's got the proper logo, the Jack Shaw's on Fire logo on the side of his head. So it's really up to. I got people now I don't even know sending me pictures. Look what I've had done, and I think now it turned into a thing. It's like, if I have Jack Shaw's on Fire tattooed on me, I'll get a shout out on his Instagram. So if anyone does want it, we're still going. We're still accepting members into the club. So
how many people have you got it? Do you think roughly?
I would say roughly between 25 and 30 now, probably.
That's fucking mental. That's absolutely fucking. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, like So I remember we were down. Like I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't your last fight in Cagewarriors, but it was one of the last fights. It was, I think, where was it? Might have been the last one. I don't know. It was one of the ones in Newport anyway. And there was me and Joe were down there with the podcast, and we've got our shirts on and all that, and we're sitting in the front row and fucking and obviously I've got my phone out and I filmed it when you were walking out.
Yeah.
And fucking the entire those bleacher seats in the Newport Centre were fucking jumping like that. Mate, it's fucking amazing. I mean, you've got such good support down there.
The thing, like, obviously we went to the ice arena in the end, but I used to love the Newport Centre because you would have comments online. People would get pissed off because, like, 2 or 3 fights before I come on, where the boys are just, like, on one big style, they'd start singing and chanting during other people's fights. So there'd be, like, two randomers fighting, and you'd hear on the TV, like, people singing Jack Shaw's on Fire, and they're stamping their feet. They got their tops off, swinging their tops around. It was just the ice arena, it was that big in the end. It was a great atmosphere, but like in the Newport Arena, the boys would always be up the back when they on the bleachers.
Yeah.
You just knew if you wanted to go and get involved in a bit of a party, like let's go and sit up with the boys. Like I used to have friends from Newport and stuff like that I used to work with, and they were like, oh, we'll go and sit up by all your mates anyway because we don't have a good time up with them. But I used to love the Newport Centre shows. They like, when I think back to some of my favourite fighting memories, it's the Newport shows where the boys first started coming in force and making all our racket.
Yeah, it was brilliant, man. So So you were obviously in your most recent fight, you were doing a lot of training with Brett Johns. Brett has actually been a guest on the podcast before a few years ago, not on the video. We actually just had him on the audio back in the day. Obviously, again, I've known Brett for a long time, solid guy. Went through the Cage Warriors ranks as well. Now, it seemed that both of I don't know if it was just a natural evolvement, but you both fought very, very similar. So his fight was obviously a few days after yours, and the way you were both sort of taking the back and sticking that one hook in and leaning your weight on your opponent, and then the strikes. Was that something that just evolved naturally, or was it something that you specifically drilled both together?
I think. Just speaking personally, like I always gravitate towards the back take anyway. So if I can get sort of one hook in and control that's what I always tend to do. I think maybe like Brett is got that grinding style where he's more likely to hang on around your waist and just pummel you with the punches. But I think naturally the guys we fought were very similar in stature. Both tall guys,
all rangy, yeah.
Both southpaws as well, and both dangerous on the outside. So I think naturally, especially because we had like the full 10 days together fight, where we gravitated towards the same sort of game plan, try and get in the face and make it messy. And especially Brett, because Montello he fought is, for the weight, is just, I think he's 6'1", like 75-inch reach. Southpaws, as if he's not open enough, then he's a southpaw. So
Brett was the underdog as well. You were quite a favourite in your fight, but Brett was the underdog, and he fucking did really well, man.
Well, he said it himself, Brett. Like this Montel's on like a 3-fight win streak, and it was almost as if they sort of Brett felt like they brought him in to lose, sort of thing, But if you're fighting Brett Johns, you don't ever bring Brett Johns in to lose, because the style that he's got and how tough he is and how fit he is, with his cardio, he's capable of beating anyone in the division. Because unless you're going to shut the lights out on him, he's going to stay in your face, and he's going to be there for the duration. And if he gets his game going, like especially in the second and third round, if he can get that distance close, and I've been there, in the gym, and he's pinned me on the cage, and I'm thinking, well, I can't go nowhere here. So if he gets that game going where he can just enforce his wrestling and his Greco and get you down and grind you, then you're in for a long, tough night. And even if he can't get you down, he's tough as nails, and his striking's getting better and better all the time. I mean, you've seen that in the Munoz fight. He had a taker in the first round, and then sort of second and third, it was anyone's fight. He was starting to land shots from southpaw, from orthodox. So, he's with us training full time now. We've got some good striking coaches there as well. So I think you'll see now in his next fight, especially if the gyms open up before it, where we can get back to working with the full team properly, you'll see his striking come on to a next level as well. And, for someone who's been about so long for Brett, it's crazy to think he's only 27 or 28. So, he's got plenty of life left in him yet. And don't be surprised, two years or so, he's top 5 in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he is a former world champion from, I think, was it Titan FC?
And, 2-time, and Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors world champion and Titan world champion. And the only 2 losses he's had in the UFC, one was to Aljamain Sterling, who is going to be fighting for the title. It is basically, in a lot of people's eyes, the people's world champion at the moment.
Yeah.
And Pedro Munoz, you know what I mean? And they were both decisions. It wasn't like he got smashed. You know what I mean?
Probably a win away from being a world title contender as well. So I mean, if you've got 2 losses, that's not a bad 2 guys. And like you said, it's not, the Aljamain fight was a close one. It was a grinding fight, and the Munoz fight was a war. He didn't come out on top, Brett, but with a couple of little adjustments, and if they run it back, it's definitely a winnable fight. The both of those guys for him. So it's just a testament to how good he actually is. I don't think sometimes he doesn't get as much credit and as much hype about him as he deserves, because he could compete with any of those guys in the top 10 and beat any of them.
Did you get a bonus?
No, not this time. Last time I had one in.
Motherfuckers! You should have got a bonus for that.
Oh, I know I thought they done me dirty, but it is, I can't complain. I had one last time. Like, you can't have them every time.
Yeah. So obviously you were training with Brett. You've won your fight. Brett's fight's a few days later. Did you have to come back alone?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a not an anti-climax, but I can imagine for the coaches.
I've won. I'm just going to go home alone now.
But I can imagine for the coaches as well. It was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. Because obviously, you've got all the pressure and the stress of me fighting. So you had the weight cut day, which was tough, on the Tuesday. I fought on a Wednesday, the Thursday morning. We're on top of the world. Yes, we've done it. We've won. They go to bed. They wake up. Right, it's weight cut day for Brett now. So we got to do it.
Yeah, your dad's all right, son. See you later.
That was it. It was like a quick handshake and a touch, and it's like on your way. Because I fought like say 4 a.m. Thursday morning, and I boarded the plane at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So I didn't sleep. I literally went to the room, had some food, a couple of hours in the pool because the pool opened up, and it was like, right, off I go. I'm on my way home.
And then, so when you landed back, did you have to do another quarantine when you landed back, or were you allowed to go straight home?
I was allowed to go straight home to my house, but I'm got to spend 2 weeks in quarantine now over here. So, the restrictions are a little bit looser over here, I think, than, where they're bounding into the room for 2 days in Abu Dhabi. But I am meant to be quarantining for 2 days over here. But it doesn't make a lot of sense because obviously I've had the tests. So I've had 5 tests to say I'm clear, so I can't work out why I've got to do it. But, it is what it is. If it means I get to go away and fight, then I'll the risk I'll take.
Well, that was it. It was I put the thing up on Facebook and I said, so everyone there, they've had a test, 2 days quarantine, a test, a private plane, a test, 2 days quarantine and a test, and they're on an island. So the entire island is fucking coronavirus free, and yet everyone's walking around wearing a mask.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck's that all about?
Well, another thing that was mad was we I don't know if I misheard it or what, but we was obviously watching the TV out there, and I'm sure I heard that there's 2 million people, there's 2 million people in Abu Dhabi have been tested and they're all clear. So why not why not put in an arena? If people have been tested and they're clear to go in an arena, I'm all for this mass gathering and it's gonna, potentially, but if everyone who's mass gathering has been tested and they're negative and they haven't got it, then they just as well sell a couple of thousand seats and have a bit of an atmosphere in it. That was my take on it. But like you said, everyone on the island has been tested 5 times, but you dare leave the room without a mask, you'll be asked to go back to the room.
Yeah. Well, I do get it. I mean, from a PR perspective, even if they did that and they sold some tickets and one person ended up dying of the virus,
the
UFC had looked like the biggest bunch of bastards. You know what I mean? So they've got to be fucking. So I get where they're coming from. They've got to be seen to be doing it. And like you said before, me personally, I'm not that worried about actually getting it myself. I'm under 50. Even though I'm carrying a few spare pounds, I've quit smoking a year ago. I've fucking trained 4 or 5 days a week. So I'm the fit, cardiovascular wise, I'm the fittest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've got no underlying health conditions. My blood pressure's fine. All of that kind of stuff. So I'm not really that worried. I don't think it would affect me that badly, touch and wood. But like my stepdad, he's got he's a diabetic, he's got kidney problems, if he caught it, he'd be fucked. You know what I mean? So I get, you've got to be fucking, and I get why you've got to be careful, and I'm all for the wearing the mask and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I get it. But, me personally, I'm thinking, I was just watching it, and I was like, I've been watching the week before where they'd been through all of these processes, and yet everyone's still come out wearing the mask. I was like, what the fuck? So, but like I say, from a PR perspective. So, one of the things, and I shared it on Facebook, and you liked the post on Facebook. I've got to say, one of the greatest things, mate, your post-fight interview and your post-fight press conference, you came across really, really fucking well. Very calm, very professional, very composed, and very intelligent. And did you get other compliments from other people about your post-fight interviews?
Yeah, like people always say when I'm on the camera that I speak well and stuff like that. And, there's a couple. I mean, I've had a camera on me since I signed with Cagewarriors. In fairness to Cagewarriors, they said when I signed, you're going to be on BT every fight and you're going to have a lot of promos. So I just had to get used to it fast. you know, if you watch my first promo for my first Cagewarriors fight, I'm looking away, I'm stuttering, I'm giggling. Whereas, you know, you just get, it's the same as anything, you get used to it. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, not all us fighters are sort of street thugs who, you know, who've grown up, who didn't go to school. You know, I went to school, I had good grades at school, I went to university. You know, I wasn't brought up the Apple area, you know, the poshest area in the world, but no, I am come up, you know, fighting every day and fighting for my life, nothing like that. So I just when I have the mic in front of me, I just am who I am. You know, I don't try and put on an act. I don't try and go McGregor, but I don't try and go, you know, the tough guy either. I just am who I am. To me, I got no animosity against anyone I fight. It's something I love to do. When the bell goes and the cage locks, then yeah, I'm in there to kill, and I'm in there to shut the lights out, or you know, otherwise I'm gonna have my lights shut out. But once it's over, you know, I'm just back to being me, and it's always how I've been. You know, if I tried putting on an act, you know yourself, you've probably seen it, Sledge, millions of times in this game. People put on this act and it doesn't come across very well. It looks stupid. It comes across, you look like a knob, let's be honest. So
but then also, if they put on the big act and then get fucked up, that's the
better. But it's one of them. I just thought, you know, I've always had the attitude of there's no point me pretending to be something I'm not. I'll act how I act, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But they can never accuse me of being fake, you know. But yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I genuinely hope this might usher in a sort of a new era, because, you know, you've had, like you say, you know, Conor McGregor. Look, I don't know Conor. I've met him once, right? But one thing I will say about Conor is the time that I met him, it was after a Cage Warriors show in London, and I think it was when Cathal Pendred was fighting. So John Kavanagh was in the corner, Conor was there supporting as a teammate, and I was sat in the bar afterwards, and Conor's walked in the bar, and I've gone, all right, Conor, can I grab a picture with you and all that? And was the fucking nicest guy I've ever fucking met. Like, was quiet, polite, unassuming, was just like, oh yeah, did you enjoy the show tonight and all that? And I got me, and he's like, thanks for support. And, you know, he was really, really nice. And it was only when he got to the UFC and like people stuck a camera in his face did he start acting like that fucking character. And that's what I believe it is. It's a character.
And he's a very smart man. You know, you only got to look at the business decision. I mean, even stuff like the whiskey, the clothing line. He's a very smart man. So he's seen his window, and he is a cheeky chap. You know, like you see some of his the best example of is the Ultimate Fighter. We did it with Faber. You know, he's not got to have a fight with Faber, so he's not on him 24/7. But when they're having a bit of banter, you can see he's a funny guy, you know. And for the most
part, he's funny as fuck.
Yeah, for the most part, that's where he is. But you've got so many guys now trying to be like him, and I'm thinking, you are saying what he has said word for word. You're not even putting your own spin on it. Like, what are you hoping is gonna, like, people have seen it, you know? And let's be honest, it's done him well. Like, look how much he's got in people's heads with the way he acts before a fight. Like Aldo, he had Aldo beat before he got in there.
Oh God, yeah.
And if it helps and in his head, if it gives him that advantage, then that's what he's got to do. Look at the Diaz brothers. You know, they have got to pretty much dislike the person they're fighting to be able to fight them. If that's what they've got to do to get in there and perform, that's what they got to do. You know, I'm the opposite. I haven't got to hate the guy. I mean, I fought guys that I don't like. I fought guys that I think are nice guys. But regardless of how I feel about you before and after, I'm still gonna go in there and fight the same way. But everyone's different. No, everyone is like, you know, Nate Diaz probably couldn't go in there and fight with one of his friends. He's got to be in the mindset of, you know, I really dislike this person, and I really want to put paint to him. Whereas I don't know if that makes me better or worse, but I can put paint to someone without hating them as a person.
Yeah. And look, it's again, you know, it's well, hold on. Someone's just decided to start doing DIY outside my door. I'll shut that. Yeah, and you know, there's some of those things, you know, it's pretty fucking cringeworthy. You know, you look at the likes of Henry Cejudo and you know, all of that. And like I say, I genuinely hope that you are gonna, you know, show people that they don't have to act like a fucking prick. And you know, put that false bullshit up in order to get noticed.
It can be done. Like GSP, one of the highest paid fighters ever, you know, ever in the all of MMA and boxing. You know, never trash talk. Look at I mean, even to an extent, Masvidal, right? What I love about Masvidal is, yeah, he's this street thug and this street fighter, but he's not really, like, you watch the Diaz fight, he's not really a trash talker. Like, if he doesn't like you, he'll let you know about it. Like you know, the things, him and Usman had a bit of back and forth, and him and Colby had a bit of back and forth. But when he fought Diaz, but the pair of them, look how much fight, you know, that fight sold. But there was no bullshit. There was no, you know, let's pretend we hate each other to have a fight. You know, we're not friends, but we don't need to be disrespectful in the build-up. And I think a lot of people need to start going down that route. Sometimes less is more. You know, the less you say, sometimes the more people want to watch you. When people are watching you run your mouth and spiel off about how much of a beast you are every other week, then, you know, or how you're going to do this to so-and-so, so-and-so, and you're going to do that. Sometimes people love it. You know, look at Chael Sonnen. It worked for him. It worked for Brock Lesnar. It worked for McGregor. But it doesn't work for everyone. You know, you've got to have your... If you're going to do it, you've got to have your own little spin on it. There's a guy who trains with us, Oban Elliott, and he's like... he reminds me of like a Chael Sonnen sort of character. But he's got his own little spin on it. You know, he's a cheeky guy, like, and, you know, he's very confident, you know, very fast, quick-witted. And when he does it, it comes natural to him, you know, the trash talk. Whereas if me and him try to have a war of words, I'm going to lose every time. So, you know, if it comes natural to you and you can, you know, and you want to go on that route, you can. But, you know, I sold plenty of tickets and got myself plenty of big opportunities without having to run my mouth off.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, I swear to God, and it is a nice, refreshing change, you know. And like I say, hopefully, you know, you can be, you know, influence, you know, some of the newer generation of fighters coming through, you know, because, you know, I think, you know, you're doing it right in the fact that you're finishing fights as well. You know, like you say, you know, people like Colby Covington, for example, the reason he turned into a prick is because people didn't like watching him fight because he was boring as fuck. You know, from someone like, you know, me or yourself, you know, people who are involved, you know, that style that he's got is very, very I think it's exciting to watch. You know, it's you know, setting that high pace, getting in the guy's face, you know, throwing high volume shots at like 60%. You know, he's never going to be knocking people out. He's never going to be finishing fights. But, you know, he's got that technique that's going to grind people into the dust, you know, over a 5-round decision. And you know, the UFC were like, well, we're not interested in that. And he was about to get cut.
So he ran his mouth. Yeah, so he found it exciting.
That's when he started calling fucking Damian Maia a filthy Brazilian and all that shit. And then the Brazilians were fucking throwing pint glasses at him. And all of a sudden, he's fucking got himself noticed. So, you know, but, you know, you're doing it right. You know, you're coming in, you're finishing fights. And then, you know, you're being genuine, and I think people are going to definitely notice that.
Yeah, well, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I'm excited to watch whether people like me or dislike me. You know, 90% of the time, based on statistics, if you come to watch me, I'm going to finish the fight. But then, you know, I can see why some, like, look at Chael Sonnen and Ben Askren, and off the top of my head, not the most exciting styles in the world. You know, like you said, if they're going to win, they're probably going to take you down and grind you over 3 or 5 rounds. So, to get people watching, they run their mouth off before, because you're not tuning in because you know they're going to be an exciting fight. You're tuning in hoping that they get starched out.
Probably they're going to get lost. Yeah. So look, obviously there was, you know, on the card that you fought on, there was quite a few other Brits. There was quite a few other Cage Warriors alumni. Chris Fishgold missed weight and lost a decision. He was obviously, you know, he was very sort of saying, you know, he was apologetic about missing weight, etc. You know, I think he has performed better. Do you think that the UFC will give him another chance after that, or?
I'm open to be honest, because I really do like Chris. He's a top guy, and when he's on form, he's got a really good style, and you know, he hasn't had an easy run in the UFC either. He's fought. I think has he lost 3 fights in the UFC now, Fishgold?
Something like that. Let me just click. I'm just click on. I've got the thing. Yeah. So he's lost. Yeah, he's lost 3. But like, you know, he lost to Calvin Cater.
Amir Khani is another killer, and Jared Gordon's is a very good fighter. You know, it's not like, you know, it's not like Chris has come in and fought sort of 3 low-level guys and lost 1 and lost 2 and won 1. The guys he's lost to are elite level guys, and I think on his day, Chris, when he's firing on all cylinders, he's more than capable of handling with the best in the division, and he is a genuine good guy, Chris. So
yeah, he's a nice lad, man.
I'm hoping he does, just even if it's just how I was speaking to him on the way home, and he was sort of saying to me how, you know, he hopes he gets another chance because his preparation maybe wasn't the best, and you know, certain things factored into this fight. So I hope he gets one more just to, you know, give it everything he's got in the fight camp and prove that, you know, when he puts it in and fires on all cylinders, then he can do what he came to do.
And then we had a debut fighter, Cagewarriors champion, Modestas Bukauskas. I don't know the guy. However, I do know his dad. So his dad's been coaching MMA for a while, and his dad had a lot of fighters who fought on like UFC MMA when I was refereeing over there, and obviously I think I've emceed quite a few of his guys. And he's got like Danny Batten and Denniston Sutherland in his corner, who I know very, very well. You know, so it was nice to see him. There was a little bit of controversy with regards to some of the shots. But, you know, there was, I think it was a very, very sort of split thing. A lot of people were praising Dan Movahibi for good quality refereeing. And then obviously supporters of his opponent were saying that it was fucking bullshit because he didn't know the door was open and what have you. And me personally, you know, I think it was a good bit of refereeing by Dan. I've known Dan a long time. I think he's really coming into his own. He was very, very authoritative and very, very commanding in the cage. And, you know, those elbows, you know, they were on the, you know, above the ear. So the blows were legal. And then next thing he's rolling around, you know, falling out the cage.
Yeah,
so.
I really like Mori. He's a good guy. I've got to know him quite well over the last couple of months. We've been to a couple of Cagewarriors shows together, and you know, we chat online and stuff. And he's one of them guys who you just want him to do well. Like, you know, he's you've only got to watch his Instagram, so he's full of positivity. He trains, you know, like a pro athlete. He trains harder than some guys at the top level, you know. And fun fact, I think Ian Dean told us that this is the first UFC fight card where there's been two father and son coaching and obviously fighting on the same card. So that's a little bit of history for me and my old man, and him and his old man. But again, as far as the fight goes, like, when I was watching it, to me, obviously the elbows were bang on. I mean, he's had a couple of stoppages like that, and when he landed them, and the guy started like protesting and stuff like that, I thought, I hope they don't, you know, do him dirty, because it looked like the guy was going to take the old, oh, I can't continue, I'm concussed route. So I thought, I hope they don't do him dirty like that. But it was great refereeing, in my opinion. The ref was very clear with him, said, no, it's the end of the round. They were legal shots. If you're rolling around on the floor holding your head, you know, the ref's got to stop the fight. If he didn't stop the fight and sent him back up for the second round, he'd got slated for that. So if he sent him out in the second round and then Mori, you know, he come out wobbling his feet and Modestas sparked him out, and they say, oh, the ref should have called that at the end of the last round. So in my opinion, perfect stoppage, very good refereeing, and I'm glad that Modestas had the bonus as well, because I've seen online before the fight you were saying if he gets a bonus, he's gonna give it to his mum and dad to thank them for supporting him through his career for the years. So, you know, he's a good guy, and for him to get that sort of how he envisioned it, then I'm over the moon for him.
Excellent. And then the next guy on, I don't even, this is how fucking out of touch I am these days. LaRon Murphy. Didn't even fucking know who this geezer was. And I was talking about putting a bet on all of the British guys. And I've gone, yeah, I'll bet on these guys. And they were like, what about him? And I'm like, who the fuck's that? Now, obviously, I looked into it afterwards, and he's come from that FCC, you know, that Northwest. So, you know, I've never really been to one of those shows, but he did very, very well against a fucking tough opponent.
Yeah, the guy Ramos, was it Ramos? I think he fought.
Yeah, Ricardo Ramos. Yeah,
Ramos, like Team Alpha Male, was on a team.
He was touted as being very dangerous on the floor.
Yeah,
and he had no problem going down and hitting him with that elbow.
Team with him, you know, great performance. Tough, you know, he fought Khabib's boy, didn't he, in his last fight? I mean, that was a tough fight to take for him in his debut on like a couple of days' notice. You know, did well against him with the conditions. And then obviously to come in now against a guy who's, like you said, is very dangerous and take him out in the first round, I think it was.
Yeah. First round,
a great win for him, and I hope for the bet. Hopefully, you chuck the bet on him. It's like, imagine he bumped the odds up a bit.
Yeah. And then bad news for John. So John Phillips was on the card again. You know, I'm sure that you know John probably a lot better than I do. I've known John for a long time. You know, I've emceed a lot of his early fights. You know, I've been to a few after parties with John, and you know, stood and had a good banter with him. You know, real fucking sound guy. You know, very very powerful, very very heavy-handed. But you know, he was unfortunately, he's come up against someone there who is very 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 talented, and yeah, he was very much outclassed there, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I always say to people, John might well be the scariest man I know. Like I've seen him at pads, watched him fight from cage side, and when you see like the power that he's got and the way he throws them shots, it's frightening.
Venom.
I was just gutted for him, to be honest, because you know he had a big win in his last fight. The original opponent he had lined up for this card was a striker, which you know. Anyone who comes to sort of strike with John, he's always got that chance of banging him out. Obviously the guy he fought only 6-0, but you can see he's got something special about him. Very good wrestler, big guy. I mean, he's fighting Rhys McKee again now, isn't he?
That was what I was saying. Yeah, so they brought him back and he's fighting again after only 11 days. So technically he's a welterweight. Obviously he was fighting a middleweight, so he's obviously not had to cut any weight. Yeah. He's fucking had that quick win. And, you know, come out completely unscathed. And obviously the UFC have seen this and seen like, fuck me, that's the next Khabib there. Let's fucking do it again and let's try and...
Well, you know, he looks like Khabib, doesn't he? Very similar style.
From Chechnya.
And also got a good team behind him at the All-Stars gym. I know he trained with Gustafsson and, you know, they got a really good team, haven't they, out in Sweden. Yeah. So, you know, Rhys McKee's no walkover. Don't sleep on Rhys McKee. You know, if he comes and you know, I know he said he likes to strike this Dagestan Chechnyan guy. Sorry. So if he comes to strike with Rhys, you know, Rhys has got that. He's got that power, isn't he? Where you know he's very similar to John. Where you know if Rhys touches you, then he's gonna put you out. So if he comes and stands with Rhys, he's in a bit of trouble. And I mean, I don't think Rhys is a walkover on the ground either. So fingers crossed. I really do like Rhys. And I hope he can have a successful debut. But you know, it is a big ask against a tough opponent. But I know he's very mentally strong, and I've seen online he's very confident as well. So fingers crossed he comes in there and pulls off the upset. You know, because there's a lot of hype around this guy now, despite only fighting a week ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was the thing that so that Rhys he got I don't really, you know, I don't know the kid. But I saw what Boylan did to him on social media. Yeah. Got him on the FaceTime and he was like, "How you doing?" Lured him in and then went, "Oh, by the way, you're fighting in the UFC next week." And the geezer was like, got really really emotional. Yeah, it was brilliant. So look, like you say, it is a big ask. You know, that guy is fucking talented, and you know the way that he took John down and smothered him was very very impressive. So, you know, without a doubt, you know, I would love to see Rhys, do something, but like you say, it is a bit of a big ask. And then again, unfortunately, another fan favourite and someone I've known for a while, judged a lot of our early fights was Molly McCann. She took a loss there. She was actually the favourite going into that fight, and was sort of, you know, again was pretty much outclassed for the 3 rounds there.
Yeah, I love Molly. You know, great fighter, a fighter's fighter. You know, doesn't take no easy routes, never has. Trains like a Trojan, prepares correctly, lives and breathes it. So I was gutted that she didn't get a win. But the girl did look very good, very like big frame for that weight as well. The girl, when she tall, rangy. You know, it's just one of them fights. I think. Yeah. It is what it is. Molly, no doubt, will. You know, I know, like I said, she lives and breathes the sport, so no doubt she will go away now with her coaches. She'll look where she went wrong, maybe where she could have done better, where she could have, you know, where she did well. And you know, I know she's a real student of MMA, so I have no doubt that, you know, when she comes back next time now, she'll be a different kettle of fish altogether, and I'm sure she'll be, well, you know, Molly, she'll be raging to get back in there as soon as possible.
Yeah. She is an absolute savage. And real, I love watching her fight. So, I've no doubt she'll be back pretty quick. Then obviously we'll go on to the next card. So we've already spoken about Brett. Brett took that win, a real solid, good decision win over a dangerous opponent. Joe Duffy took that loss there, was looking okay, but then got hit with a triangle. Then got hit. Where are we? Then we got hit with a guillotine, and then and has decided it's not for him anymore, and has decided to throw in the towel on his career.
Yeah, it's a shame because obviously Joe grew up in Wales.
He used to train with you guys, didn't he?
Yeah, trained at the Falcons. Like I said, Joe, when I was the 6, 7-year-old little kid in the gym, Joe was like 14, 15, like taking men apart and. Beating.
I emceed all of it, like basically nearly every one of his amateur fights.
Yeah.
Anger management.
I mean, I can remember Joe didn't lose like grappling or MMA for a long, long time. And there was always a lot of hype around Joe. But again, he's one of them guys. He's like a true martial artist, Joe. There's no trash talk. He's very like traditional in his approach. Bows before getting in the cage and stuff like that. And if he decides he's done, then I don't have any doubt that he is done, because I know martial arts. I've known Joe years, and I know martial arts is a massive part of his life. So, and competing is a massive part of his life. So for him to say that he's had enough and he wants to move on with his life, then I think he's not one of them who's brashly rushed into it then off the back of a loss. If he's said it, I think he's probably been thinking about it for a while, and he wants when you're 30 years of age and you've been training in martial arts since you was 4 years of age, sometimes you need to do something else. So all the best to Joe on it. Like you say, he's looking good to start, but something just seems to be lacking a little bit his last couple of fights. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's something mental or physical, whether he's injured or what, but he just hasn't looked himself the last sort of 2 fights. So, fingers crossed. If he is done, then he's happy in retirement and he can move on with his life and maybe go into coaching, something like that. Someone like Joe, really, really good with really good attitude, really nice guy. So I'm sure he'd make a great coach if he ever did decide to go down that route.
So look, I am pretty conscious of the time because I know you've got you said it was you've got a birthday party to go to. So obviously Nad Niramani, he unfortunately took a loss there as well, 3-round decision. Obviously Nad's going to be back. He was like I say, it wasn't like the most one-sided affair I've ever seen, but he did get soundly beat there over the 3 rounds.
Yeah, the guy was a good guy when he's very big. I seen the guy now saying as well he wants to go to, I know it was 150 pound, and the guy is saying now he wants to fight at 155, so he's obviously a big guy for the weight. And I know Nad well. I've sparred with Nad. I know how good he is wrestling and how strong he is, how good he is on the feet, how good his grappling is. So the guy must have been legit to have beat him over the distance.
And then that Mark Decazes, he again took a decision loss. Again, it was that Rafael Fiziev. He's a Tiger Muay Thai guy. So basically, where boxing club I train at, there's a Thai boxing gym there, and the guy that runs it, he's associated. He takes his guys out to Tiger Muay Thai every year. You got one of his best mates is Johnny Betts, who's one of the Tiger Muay Thai sponsored Thai boxers out there. So yeah, he noted that he's sort of quite well known, and we were talking about him. So yeah, he's they're expecting some big things from him. So sort of no shame in taking a loss against this guy at all, really. And then big one, not a British guy, but a Cagewarriors former champion. Fucking very impressive. Jack Hermanson tapped out Kelvin Gastelum. And obviously, Kelvin Gastelum is, essentially regarded as, went 5 rounds of style bender not so long back. And then Jack Hermanson's taking him out with a submission in round 1. So very impressive win there for Jack.
Yeah, I to be honest, I written Hermansson off for that one. I thought, I really do rate Gastelum. He's like a little fridge freezer, isn't he? Like, he's just to the shape of him, you'd think he'd be tough to take down. And obviously his striking is elite level. You only got to watch him against Stylebender and he can bang. So foolish of me to write Hermansson off. I mean, I did the same when he fought Jacare. I thought, Jacare would be too much, and Hermansson blitzed him. And it was the same thing, You can say what you want. You can't ever argue with a submission after a minute of the first round, whether you want to say it was a fluke or it was lucky. That doesn't factor in. To pull off a heel hook in pro MMA against someone at Gaslam's level is never a fluke. You know, it's always a well-earned victory, and fair play to Manson. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a winner of Tillon Whittaker off the back of that.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. He said, so obviously the winner of Tillon Whittaker is going to fight Cannonier, apparently. Right. He wants to fight, I can't remember, I was just watching the fight interview before, wants to fight someone else, and then basically the winner of those two fights should end up fighting for the title. So he's got a bit of a plan stretched out there. And then obviously, so as you mentioned, Tillon Whittaker. So again, a lot of Brits on the card here for this weekend. So this is UFC on ESPN 14. Nathaniel Wood is fighting John Castaneda. Obviously, the prospect, London guy, again, come through the Cagewarriors ranks. Obviously, I'll be backing Nathaniel Wood there. Any thoughts on that one quickly?
Yeah, I haven't watched the guy fight. Someone told me he hasn't fought for a while or something like that. It's not. I don't think it's as tough a fight for Nathaniel as he would have had against Khabib's cousin. So I think I don't think this guy's a world beater, to be honest. So I think you'll have a nice, comfortable win in this one.
Yeah, he hasn't fought for over a year, so maybe a little bit of ring rust there. And it's his debut, but then the previous to that, he was coming off a couple of losses. So he's been on the Dana White's contender, but a lot of it's all, he's Brazilian guy. He's been on Combat A. Yeah, it looks like it was at a Mexican show or whatever. I think it was actually Mexican. Yeah, so but it's he's not. Like I say, he's come through that Dana White's Tuesday night looking for a fight and stuff like that. But this is his UFC debut. So yes, I would certainly expect Nathaniel to be able to give him a good run. You got Mike Grundy fighting. He's 12-1. The guy's fighting is 12-0. So he's fighting some undefeated Russian guy who looks pretty fucking scary, to be honest with you, in the pictures. I don't think that's going to be an easy fight for Mike Grundy. Do you know much about that one?
Well, I don't know much about the point. I know Grundy's an elite level wrestler himself, and obviously the Russians can wrestle. So maybe we'll see this one banging out. Maybe we'll see them banging out on the feet. Perhaps they wrestle and will neutralise each other, or perhaps they'll welcome the wrestle and it'll be a scramble fest. But anyone who's won Commonwealth medals in wrestling has got a certain type of mindset. So Grundy, just based on that, is never going to be an easy fight for anyone.
So then Tom Aspinall, Jake Collier. Again, Tom Aspinall 7-2. This Jake Collier 11-4. It doesn't look like, on paper, it doesn't look like it's an easy contest, but it doesn't look like it's an easy contest for Tom. But yeah, obviously, again, would certainly be backing him. Do you know Tom at all? Do you know much about his opponent?
No, I've never. I know as a fighter, I know Tom. I met him, but I know he's pretty good everywhere. I mean, he sparred Tyson Fury. I think he's had pro boxing fights. He's a BJJ black belt. I know most of his wins in his MMA career have come via striking. So, again, don't know anything about the guy he's fighting, but very good all-rounder, Tom. They got a good team now at Cowbon. So, he's with Till and Grundy being in camp as well at the same time. I should imagine they're all going to come in shape and ready to go having that. It's always a little bit easier to push, a little bit harder when you've got someone there pushing for the same date as you. So them boys will be more than ready to go, I imagine.
Yeah, and I saw a video of Tom Aspinall hitting pads, and it was, fuck me, very, very fast hands for someone that size. I mean, he's a fucking unit. You know what I mean? So, hopefully we're going to see him do some big things there. Obviously, we've already spoken about Rhys McKee. He's fighting this Chimaev who beat John. So that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to see how he turns it around. Again, I hope Rhys does well, but as we've already said, it is a big ask. Then we've got the Bear Jew. We've got Paul Craig, again, fighting scary sounding Russian dude who is he's actually coming off a couple of losses, but apart from that he's got a very, very extensive record. So I think that could be a sort of a fairly even contest. I mean, I think that Paul Craig, he tends to sort of pull out submissions.
I was just going to say, I don't know anything about his opponent, but I'll bet Paul Craig by submission.
But then, so the top three fights, again, this is, even though it's technically a free card, the top three fights would definitely not be out of place on a big pay-per-view. So you've got Alexander Gustafsson for Brighton fighting Fabricio Verdum. So Fabricio Verdum, top 5 of all-time heavyweights. Without regarded as basically probably the best submission artist in the heavyweight division, and obviously Gus is coming up from light heavyweight. Basically, if John Jones didn't exist, he would have been the best light heavyweight ever. So, I'm really, really interested to see. Obviously, Verdum had the 2 years off because of his little pop with USADA. He come back, he had a loss. He was potentially out of shape. So, he's got to come in shape against Gus, because Gus is a fucking savage.
Yeah. Well, look, I know Gus has had a bit of time out, but he's capable of beating anyone in the world. And I think the heavyweight move, having had a bit of time out, is not a bad shout for him. He's big framed, he's tall, he's long. So, he can carry that little bit of extra weight. I think it's a winnable fight for Gus. And I think, if he loses, you're probably knocking on the head again. If he wins, especially with sort of, there's talk of DC and Stipe retiring after their clash now.
Yeah.
It puts him right in the mix, doesn't it? Yeah.
So I mean, that's it. If he wins this, there is no. I don't think there'd be anyone on the planet that would fucking object to him getting a title shot. No. And they'd probably, if he wins this, they probably will throw him in against Francis, though.
Yeah, which is a big risk for anyone. But Gus can wrestle. Let's not forget.
That's it.
He took DC down once in a scramble. So let's not be. That's not an easy fight, but stylistically, Gus matches up better with him than some of the other people in the division, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, Stipe put the blueprint in for beating Francis Ngannou. Yeah. So I think that Gus would definitely stand a good chance of doing that. Then you've got Battle of the Old Fellas. So you've got Shogun versus Little Nog again. I mean, fair play to them. I mean, look, fucking hell, man. Shogun's like, what is he, 38? So he's still in his late 30s. But he has been fucking, apart from his loss to Anthony Smith, he beat Nog, and then he beat Corey Anderson, Vellante, and
he's on a bit of a tear, isn't he?
Exactly, He's
on a bit of a tear at the minute, isn't he?
He lost to Anthony Smith, which is it's no great thing, and then he beat Tyson Pedro, who is seen as a very, very strong prospect. Took a draw against Paul Craig.
Yeah, it's debatable one.
Yeah, still doing it, mate. Still doing it.
Yeah.
So it's it's a fucking. But like you say, battle, and then you've got Little Nog, who's 44. Fair play to him. Still doing it, mate. Still doing it. So it's battle of the Brazilian old dudes. But I just think, I think Shogun's definitely fucking got it in his tank on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Shogun, just because of his recent run of... I mean, realistically, it's anyone's fight at the age they're at, they're both past their best, but Shogun have looked decent as of late, so I'll go Shogun on that one as well.
Yeah, and then the big main event. So, we've got Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. Obviously, I'm a massive Darren Till nut hugger, but I am a big fan of Robert Whittaker. He was on the Smashers. I watched that series, The Ultimate Fighter, quite extensively. So I've been, and he's only lost one fight at middleweight since he come up from welterweight. Obviously, Darren Till came up from welterweight into middleweight, fought Gastelum, won convincingly, even though it was a split decision. I think it was a convincing win. Whittaker then decided that he wanted to take a bit of time out. So that bit of time out can do one or two things. He can rest his injuries, he can heal up, he can get fresh, he can renew his vigor and come back. Or, is it going to be a bit of ring rust? And but the good news about it is they're both explosive strikers. So I think we're going to see a stand-up battle there. But obviously, definitely want to see Darren Till win.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a big fan of Darren Till. He always wishes me well as well. So I really hope that he wins, because I think he'll have he won't be far off a title shot then. But Whittaker is no easy match for anyone. I think because Stylebender dealt with him so easily, I think people are quick to write Whittaker off because of that performance. But look at the 2 fights with Yoel Romero beforehand, and that sort of tells you all you need to know about him. Like you said, though, Whittaker predominantly a striker, and I think Till's striking, maybe apart from Stylebender, or you could even argue on a par, but apart from Stylebender, he's probably the best, pure striker in the division with his ties.
A similar build and style to Stylebender, that long-range style, yeah.
Well, I think, Till is more sort of a tie fighter, isn't he? Chops low, big, hard, heavy kicks, leads with the elbows. Stylebender's, I think, is a little bit more elusive with, he's a bit more flashy with your question mark kicks, your spin kicks. But again, anyway, if Whittaker comes to purely stand with Till, then I think, Till, especially over 5 rounds, could more than do the job. Again, I think 5 round wise though, I don't doubt Till can go 5 rounds. I mean, Whittaker has got more experience in the 5 round fights, especially against guys like Yoel Romero. But fingers crossed Till does it. I was really nervous for him in the Gastelum fight because I wanted him to win that badly. And it was a risky fight, and he looked great there. And he didn't have the best fight week there. I don't think either did. He didn't get it till like the day before the weigh-in out in New York with visas and stuff. So I think if Till fights how he fights against Gastelum, keeps it neat and tidy, keeps it nice and smart, doesn't take too many risks, then I think he can definitely outpoint him, or even he's that big in it Till. If he catches him clean, then he'll put him away. But it works both ways. Whittaker can bang as well. So Whittaker's a one-punch knockout guy as well. So it really is, like you said, that could main event a pay-per-view card, and you wouldn't be annoyed at it.
Absolutely. So really looking forward to this. There's some very, very, like I say, plenty Brits on there, and also likes like Nicholas Dalby as well, former Cagewarriors champion, who's in his 2nd run in the UFC. Yeah, so there's a lot of people on there who we know, so it's going to be, I'm definitely going to be glued to it this weekend. And just finally, so I know you sort of answered this question in your post-fight interview, and I'm not asking you to, obviously, we've already discussed your thing, but if you were given a choice, who would you want to fight next?
There's some real, even taking outside like the big names, I'm looking at the last couple of fight cards, there's some real big, not big names, but no notable names at the minute flying about, Brian Callahan and Cody Stanman. I know Stanman lost on the same card as me, but both of those guys would be a fun fight. Song Yadong is a great prospect coming through, like to see me clashing with. Also, there was a guy, I'm not sure, he might even be a flyweight who jumped in the bantamweight, but he fought on the same card as Brett. I think he used to be the Glory champion. He trains in London Shoot Fighters a bit. I think he might be called Ramos as well. There's a couple of good names at the minute. I mean, I'm not expecting like a top 15, top 10 guy just yet, but I'm hoping now I can get matched with someone that will help push me to that, to call for that shot next.
Do you know where you're ranked at the moment? Do you know what your rank is?
I'm not sure. No, I haven't checked. I don't know if the UFC would rank me outside the top 15 or Tapology. I haven't checked.
They only do 15 on their website.
Yeah.
I was saying like Tapology. Hold on. Let's have a quick.
Yeah.
And Google that and just see if I can bring your Tapology up quick. There you go, top of the thing. So Tapology, they generally tend to do it if they've got a ranking. No, they haven't. Oh no, 28. There you go.
28. There we go. Then
28 in the world.
I'm inside the top 30. So next job is inside the top 20. Then it's the top 15. Then it's the top 10.
Well, that's it, So look, let's hope that they offer you potentially someone who could be ranked number say around the 20 mark. Let's have a quick look there. So yeah, you've got I'm just trying to quick look at that. So you're 28. Just have a quick look there. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I know he's a fellow Brit, so I don't like. I prefer Brits to not fight each other, but like Nathaniel Wood, he's ranked at 19. So you've got some guys there, and then I mean obviously you start getting into the top 15. You got the likes of Sugar Sean O'Malley at 11. I think you might want to get another couple of fights under your belt before you jump into that. So there's definitely some big things there for you, mate. But look, I know you've got to go to this birthday party, and we've gone a little bit over the allotted hour that we said. So I just really want to say a big thank you. So just before we go, I just want to remind all of our watchers that we are sponsored by Fight Central. That's fight-central.co.uk, and you can get 10% off with the discount code The Oil Check. You can contact us on telephone or text 07510 954 793. Email theoilcheck@hotmail.com, or all forms of social media @theoilcheck. So do you want to tell our listeners your social media handles, and we guarantee to get you at least one new follower?
Yes, get me at Jack Show MMA on Twitter and Insta. Facebook, Jack Tank Show. Don't have my personal account because I've got about three spaces for about 3 friends, so I best keep them for people that I know. So follow my fan page, and I'll do my best to keep you all entertained.
Excellent, excellent. Well, listen, Jack. Like I say, is this the first interview you've done since you got back?
I did a podcast yesterday with one of my mates, but you may well have yours out before he does if you're fast.
I'm fucking getting it out this afternoon. World exclusive. Really, really appreciate it. And obviously, we actually bumped into each other at the comedy gig at Theo Von. So I know you're a big fan of your comedies, the same as me. You know, you like your Rogan, etc. So I've got tickets to see Sharp, which was obviously put off because of the Rona. It's not going to be till next year. But hopefully, if I don't see you to fight, we'll see you at a comedy gig.
Well, and I got a little bit of news. I might have a little interview scheduled with our boy Theo before long. So.
Oh, really?
So that's in the works at the minute. We're looking to get that nailed down in the next sort of 2-3 weeks. He's been messaging me to try and get me on one of them. But the Oil Check got me on first. So again, that's just another feather in your cap.
Awesome. Listen, mate, you're an absolute fucking legend. I really appreciate your time. Say hello to your dad. Obviously, I'm a big fan of your dad as well. Known him for a long, long time. And listen, get yourself off to your birthday party. And what I'll do is, once this is up on live on YouTube, I'll message you through the link. And if you can just pimp it out for us on your social media.
I'll get it sorted, Sledge. Top man.
You're a gentleman. Thanks very much, man. Cheers. Bye-bye.